What are offsets? Many large governments, industries, and corporations participate in the carbon offset economy in order to reach greenhouse gas emission limitations, regulations, or even corporate social responsibility indices. Essentially, certain climate mitigation policy permits polluters on various levels to purchase offset credits that theoretically reduce greenhouse gas emissions, but elsewhere. And these credits can be transferred on the cap and trade market. Essentially, on the market, you can purchase two different types of offsets. There are greenhouse gas emission reduction offsets, as well as carbon capture and sequestration. Essentially, one credit is equal to 1 metric ton of carbon dioxide. But how do we know that these are actually working? According to the Natural Resource Defense Council, there are 5 things that offsets must be. And they are real, enforceable, verified, permanent, and most importantly, additional. The most common offset found in programs such as California's cap and trade market are projects called forest offsets. The story here is quite simple. Essentially, trees capture carbon dioxide via photosynthesis. As a result, a byproduct is oxygened gas, which us humans and other living things on this planet absorb through respiration and release carbon dioxide. Our efforts in implementing carbon offsets aim to reduce the amount of trees that are cut, improve forest management, as well as reforest land that had previously been unforested in order to sequester more carbon than normal. In many cases, carbon offset projects can come with a plethora of co-benefits. For example, we can have improved water quality, recreation, and wildlife. Offsets often materialize as a license to pollute. Essentially, they distract us from truly reducing our emissions, as well as count emission reductions that may have occurred had this program not been truly put into place. Not enough data has truly come out yet to truly understand the impacts of this, but the rebound effect is something real. Essentially, the logic goes something like this. If we do good, we will feel good. This builds up moral credit that essentially licenses us to do bad without feeling as bad about it. But then we feel the remorse. We feel how bad and how immoral those actions are. And so then we do good again. But as you can see, nothing truly changes. It's just a continuous positive feedback loop. And this moral credit system essentially undermines the political battle against climate change. It tells us that we can continue buying ourselves out of the climate crisis. One of the 5 key things that offsets need to be is verified. Luckily, the offset market has created its own voluntary system that even systems like California support. However, much like the organic food industry, we run into the principal agent problem. Essentially, we have the principal, which is all of the carbon offset companies, and then there's the agent. So the agent would be all of the rating agencies. However, quickly a conflict of interest arises. We see payment here and ratings going this way. You can quickly see that incentives are misaligned, and essentially, if a rating agency gives good reports, they're likely to get more business. So we need regulatory bodies like the Air Resources Board of California to be on top of this. Another problem with the carbon offset economy is the lack of a discount rate that differentiates between the value of carbon today and the value of carbon down the line. Essentially, ceteris paribus, $1 today is worth more than $1 in the future due to potential earning capacity. However, in our case, it's more like foregone climate-related damages. Supporters may cite that carbon offsets only make up a small fraction of the cap-and-trade market. For example, in California, that figure is 8%. Why 8%? It's arbitrary. Realistically, this pseudo-market focused on reducing emissions relies on dirty energy to produce those emissions in the first place, therefore not addressing the problem at its core. Even further, offsets strike an unsettling resemblance to indulgences. In medieval history, the church sold indulgences to absolve people from sins, as well as reduce their time in purgatory. But we can't just erase our sins, and we don't have a purgatory. We are facing a global crisis. As evidenced, we must reduce our emissions, realign our incentives, and reinvest in renewable energy. It's cheaper, it's better for the planet, and it's necessary. We must address the climate crisis at the core rather than an end-of-pipe treatment. And we must transform our modern economy and change the means of production to create a more sustainable tomorrow.